Hello, Alan, or should I say Father Allan, my friend Alan, who has recently become a priest with Southwark. Is that right?
That's right, Katherine, and thanks for having me.
No problem. You and I have been friends for a number of years. You used to be a teacher like I am, and then discerned this vocation to the priesthood. Were you raised a Catholic, Alan, or did you convert to the faith?
No, well, oddly enough, I was baptized a Catholic, but I didn't receive any First Holy Communion formation or confirmation formation at the normal age groups. I grew up, actually I was adopted into a very irreligious family. And so I knew I was Catholic. That was sort of somewhere on the, in my mind, but it never really sank in as to what it was and what that truly meant.
Yeah.
And I had a whole bunch of experiences in my personal and family life, none of that pleasant, which I don't really want to get into here. But ultimately, in my first year of college, I was training for a journalism course, just as an offshoot, just right after high school. And I got into a history class, and I realize now that, and as I'm sure you do, Katherine, teachers especially run the gauntlet of two extremes. They either absolutely love the church, like you and I do, or they absolutely loathe and despise the church. And this particular history teacher I got was on the other extreme. He absolutely hated and loathed and despised it. He, all the problems of the world, as far as he was concerned, the church was to blame for it. So I was sitting back listening to him, and I'm thinking, yes, I know history quite well, so I know, this is nonsense. But at the same time, I was thinking, okay, I am baptized a Catholic. I have some rough idea. I used to think I thought myself as a really fancy theologian. I'm nowhere near that level now. But I thought I knew in my own mind. But I realized I pass a Catholic church every day on the way home. And I thought to myself, well, why don't I just step in one day and during a mass time and see what would happen? So I did exactly that. I walked in, I sat in the corner of the church, and people who, these welcomers that come out and say, hi, hello, is this your first time here? And welcome. I just prayed to God no one did that, because if they did, I would have no idea what to say. But they didn't. My wishes were answered. And hello, Father Peter.
Hello, Father.
Hello. Father Peter, come over here.
Hey, Father. Let's have a hello with Father Peter.
Yes, Father Peter, come on. Hello. Say to my friend Katherine.
Hi, Father. How are you?
Father Peter works with me in our current parish at St. Thomas More for the summertime, but we're both moving to different parishes, which I'll explain more later.
Oh, it's great to see you, Father Peter.
Good to see you. Thank you. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Can you, Bobby?
Thank you. Yeah, sorry about that. So essentially, I walked into the church, I sat down, the mass started, and the readings and everything was good. And what struck me was just the beauty of the liturgy. And this was a fairly run-of-the-mill liturgy. There was nothing really special about it. It was just a mass in ordinary time. And it just, okay, yeah, this is quite nice though.
Yeah.
But what really struck it for me was during the consecration, as he raised up the host, and he said, "This is my body. This is my blood." Afterwards, and something struck me. I didn't know what I couldn't tell you what it was then. I could tell you now it was the power of the Holy Spirit. And it said to me, this is it. This is all for real. This really is it. And your whole life changes, and my life certainly changed when that fact sunk in. And I said, I've got to be part of this. I've got to be a part of this. So after, I walked out and I said, I kept saying, got to be part of this, got to be a part of this. I slept on it, see if I changed my mind. I woke up, I didn't. So I went to the parish priest the next day and I said, I would like to be a fully fledged Catholic. And he said, okay, fine. So I joined the RCIA course. I was received into the church, and I said, yeah, this was it. This was great. Now the priesthood bit was a bit more complex because as solely a new quote unquote convert, I was getting myself involved into all aspects of church life, being the liturgy, sometimes serving at the altar, helping even with the RCIA course that formed me early on.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, what else can I do? And then it was that kind of like nudge, that push, that nudge that kept on bothering me. And I couldn't figure out what it was. And the only thing, and this has really happened when I started altar serving, the only thing I really thought that was left was diaconate and priesthood. And this is important to note. I was 19 going on to 20 at this time.
Right.
And when the idea of the priesthood entered my mind, I absolutely, completely panicked. I said, no, I don't want this. No. I want a career. I want a life. I want a girlfriend, especially the girlfriend bit. Don't forget that. I just ran as fast as I could. And I actually stayed away from the church for quite a while. And that nudge, though, never really went away. It kept coming back at various stages in my life. I was able to kick it into the long grass. So as time went on, I started studying for teaching in Canada, and I became a history teacher in the Toronto area. And I taught history, very temporary positions, maternity leaves and all that in Toronto. And I got several emails and calls from my relatives here in the UK saying that they were desperate for teachers here in the UK.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize why.
You still are.
Yeah. Well, you and I both know why they're desperate for teachers in the UK. I came over here and I just thought, oh, great, center of the empire. Everything's so much civilized here. Yeah. Moving on.
Okay.
Moving on. But I did like teaching. I still do. I did a homily today on William Lyon Mackenzie King, or I just mentioned him. I didn't actually go into details, which nobody would know from here, unless there were any Canadians listening to this, who would know that he was one of the longest serving prime ministers. But I'm digressing here. But I do enjoy teaching, and I still do, and I'm sure you do as well.
Yeah.
But it was still that nudging of the priesthood that just simply wouldn't go away. And I thought to myself, you know what? I've had quite a few girlfriends, which if you press me, I'll probably explain more about that later.
Come on, tell us everything.
Sorry?
Come on, tell us everything, Alan. Father Alan, sorry.
Goodness gracious. Okay, well, let's just say, and this is a point in my life I am not very proud of. I did have had relationships with women that were unhealthy and unholy, and in a lot of cases, both. And I thought that was, that was great. And I had a good job, but I just I didn't feel fulfilled. I wasn't happy. I was constantly searching for those other things, pleasure, wealth, honors, all those other things outside of God that I was looking for, and it wasn't fulfilling, and it wasn't making me happy. And I followed very much like most people do. Well, okay, if I don't get the great pleasure from this girl, how about this girl? How about the next girl, or the next week, or this particular honor here, or this extra more money, trying to fill in this gap. That wasn't,
Yeah.
it simply wasn't working. And I was going along, and then I think probably after my 7th or 8th year living in the UK, I've been here for 15 years now.
Yeah.
The vocation bit came back, but unlike the other times, this one just basically grabbed hold and wouldn't let go. And
Yeah.
literally God grabbed me by the collar saying, I want you to be a priest. And I'm like, oh goodness. I thought we solved this. You know, the things I've done, like, come on, God, you want me of all people? Well, okay, I'll check it out. We'll do this. If it doesn't work out, you know, fine, but at least I'll check it out. So I went to one diocese, and they spoke to me rather briefly, and they just said, well, Alan, we really don't think so. You're a bit too old and a bit too late for your formation. And I said, great, fine, terrific, exactly what I wanted to hear. Walked away and picked up another job in Kent.
Yeah.
And it came back again. And I distinctly remember when I had that feeling, I walked into the church, I lit a candle. It was almost tears of rage coming out. And I was talking to God. I thought we solved this. What the heck do you want from me? And ultimately, after some long prayer, I decided, okay, I'm in a different diocese now. I'll check out the vocations department here. And if this doesn't work, if they tell me the same thing, we're done. That's it. We're through.
Yeah.
So basically laying it on the line for God. Very arrogant of me, I know. But
very honest.
Sorry?
Very honest.
Yeah. And so I go to the vocations director of Southwark at the time, a very good priest by the name of Stephen Language.
Oh, I know him. Very good.
Yes, very good man. And I sat down with him. We had a very long chat. So first off, my statement was, Father, I've got this desire to be a priest, and I really don't know why. Here is my history. All the good, the bad, and the very ugly. And yeah, I'm too old, right? I've got this past, not going to work, right? Okay, fine. I was getting up to leave. And his first word was, no, wait a minute. Hold on a bit. Sit back down if you don't mind. So I did. And I said, well, first off, you're in Southwark now. So let's continue with this. So after various questions, various vocation weekends, so I was in 3 of them, and very self-reflection, very clear thought, he came to me and he said, I'll never forget this. Alan, I think I know why you have this desire to be a priest. Oh, great. Can you tell me, please? Yes, I really think you should apply. And that was the critical junction. I had to make a decision. I said to myself, I could continue going the way I was going and not apply. And I thought to myself, I could be happy, but I'll always be haunted by the what if. What if I did this? What could have changed? Okay, sorry, we got interrupted there.
It's okay, I've got you back. I've got you back.
Okay.
Yeah, so, carry on. Yeah. So you'd always be haunted by the what if you didn't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I decided I wouldn't live with that.
Yeah.
So I applied. And shockingly enough, I actually got accepted. And I went through St. John's Seminary in Warnish, sadly closed now.
Yeah.
And do you want me to carry on my vocations? I
want it all, Alan. Tell us everything. I think that's beautiful. What's wonderful about your story is it is very honest, it's very real. And I think people need to hear that, because you're not saying I was born a Catholic, I was raised a Catholic, I lived this really virtuous life, I was very holy, and then I became a priest. You're saying, look, I was I struggled. I wasn't sure where to find happiness. I looked in these different places. I failed. I felt God calling, and you thought, why is God calling me? And then you discerned this vocation and you were accepted into the priesthood. And I think that's really important, because it was very real and very honest, your relationship with God. And he did call you just as you are, just as he called Peter, Saint Peter, who we know in the Gospels seems, sometimes you're like, Peter, what are you doing?
Exactly.
But God called him.
Yeah, and I got various opportunities to remind me, or God gave me various opportunities to remind me of that. One formator said, as I was struggling at several points in my seminary training or formation, I was struggling. And he said, Alan, God is calling not the perfect Alan MacDonald, he's calling you, Alan MacDonald, with all your foibles, with all your shortcomings, he's calling you. There's a reason behind that. And I needed reminding of that constantly. And I still do in a number of cases. So that's, that
and
is
we all do.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the, well, I'll get to that in a minute, but so first year in seminary, I go in, and think about this. I'm now a man in my late 40s. I've lived more or less independently, ever since I was 18. Excuse me. So,
right.
Yeah, so I go into a very much regimented institution where they're saying, this is where you'll get up. This is when well, they didn't really say this is when you'll go to bed, but this is when you'll get up. This is where the morning prayers are. This is when breakfast is. This is where classes are. And I said to myself, the last time I had to go through that, I was in the military. And I'm thinking, I'm not too sure if I could or should be doing this. So I spoke to the spiritual director in the seminary, and I just said, Father, I'm not too sure. I really want what I can really do this. And he said he told me, Alan, everyone goes through this. Don't panic. Give it till Christmas and see what make a decision then. So I said, okay, that sounds like good advice. So I did that. And then one Christmas became 2 Christmases, then 3. And then I was on my parish placement for a whole year, which really opened my eyes. And I was struggling again. God, are you really calling me to this? Is this what you really want me to do? And I got to the point where I gave so much. And I said, God, I can't give any more. If you really want me to do this. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this.
I don't know. It seems like our technology is playing up today. My sound isn't very good either.
No.
I don't know.
Well, sorry, I'll keep going. So
it's fine, we'll carry on. So God, if you really want me to do this.
Yeah, so God, if you really want me to do this, it's in your hands. I've done pretty much all I can do. And in the end, the placement passed, went back to seminary. I spent the final year at Warnish, and then just as we were preparing to be ordained to the diaconate, we had news that our seminary was closing.
Yeah.
And I didn't take this as a sign of God that I shouldn't be a priest. I just thought to myself, really, God, you just couldn't wait 1 year. You just couldn't wait 1 year for me, to go through my final year, and then they can close it. But no, they had to close it that particular year. And I understand why they did it. It's not a criticism. It's just the way things happened. So in the end, it was a beneficial move, actually, because what happened, I was ordained to myself and 5 others in my year group were ordained to the diaconate. We, the seminary then formally closed. That was the last big event. We moved to Allen Hall Seminary in Chelsea, but we spent most of our diaconate in the parish itself, working away. So I'm at St. Thomas More's Church now in Dulwich.
College, yeah.
And I spent a good chunk of my time, probably about 80% of it, in the parish. And I think that was just incredibly helpful in my formation. So it, you don't really know what happens until you are ordained a priest, but seminary formation tries their very best to prepare people to appreciate what's really going to happen when you are ordained. And I think this really helped me, because I did baptisms, I did a lot of wedding applications. I even celebrated one wedding without the mass, of course, because I was a deacon at the time. And I did one funeral, and that really got me thinking. And I said, yes, you know what? God really is calling me to do this. And in the end, I got ordained at a lovely ordination on July 16th, which you happened to be there at. And
I didn't happen to be there, Alan.
You just happened to be there, yeah, indeed.
I didn't just stumble in.
Yeah, just stumbled in.
It was wonderful. It was really beautiful.
Yes, thank you. And it was great. And I think one of the things that really captured it for me was when the Archbishop rather, John Wilson, consecrated my hands with the chrism oils, which allowed me to consecrate the body, the bread and wine, into the body and blood of our Lord. And that was incredibly moving for me personally. And the day of my first Mass, which I celebrated here at St. Thomas More, when I elevated that bread for the first time and became the body of Christ, and I said, this is my body, and I raised the chalice, this is my blood, I thought back to that time in the very beginning when I saw a priest do that for the very first time, and said to myself, oh my God, this is truly it. And myself as well. And I'm the one doing this. It's just an incredible feeling. It's very humbling. It's I wouldn't quite say it's an out-of-body experience, but it's definitely something you just think, this is clearly something so huge and bigger than yourself. I wouldn't have been able to do it without God's help, and without the help of a lot of very good people along the way, yourself included. That helped me to get to that point.
Well, thanks be to God, Alan. We need good priests, and we do have a shortage of priests. I know it's growing. What advice would you give? What words do you want to say to young men who may be discerning the priesthood, who maybe like you feel this nudge, but ignore it, push it down, and then it sort of doesn't go away? First of all, what was that nudge like? How did it manifest? And then secondly, what would you say to any young men who feel similarly?
I think really, if you feel it, it happens in different ways for different people, and which is why you get different vocation stories from different people, because everyone is different. It's not, there is some common themes, but everyone has unique story. And for me, it was just this, it was first off, it was just a slight nudge, a slight pulling of the heart, I guess would be the best description, even though that doesn't fully do it justice.
Was it like a dissatisfaction, like you couldn't, like a restlessness? Yeah,
well, partly. That really didn't manifest itself until much later for me. For the beginning, it was just that pulling towards the Eucharist, and that always kept me going, because in fact, a lot of the times when I struggled in seminary, and I asked myself this question several times, what am I doing here? Why can't I just go to a regular job, get a half-decent paycheck, get a living, and just be fine?
Yeah.
That answer was always answered, and still is, when I go to Mass and I see the host, the bread and the body and blood of our Lord Jesus Christ elevated, and that the answer is, that's why I'm here. And as soon as I don't get that proper answer to that question is when I leave, and I never have yet. And that was it. So I think that's the best answer I can give for the sense of the nudge. The message for young men, and well, for any man, quite frankly, it doesn't matter how old you are. You know, look at me. And I thought when I entered the seminary, I'd be the oldest. I'd just be the weird out old dude with a whole bunch of 18 or 19-year-olds, or a bit older maybe, running around. And there were definitely 2 in our year group of 5 that fit that category as young, energetic, enthusiastic for the faith. Fantastic. Yeah. And they came from very, very devout families, and that's great. The other 3, and I include myself in the 3, the other one was a teacher as well, and the other one was a former Met police officer, and they had various backgrounds as well, which I won't go into because they can explain it better than I can.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't really matter at what stage of your life you're in, or when, if you get that nudge, if you get that feeling of the body and blood of Christ being elevated at Mass, and you think to yourself that there is this, everyone should have this emotional attachment, but it's on that little extra. Is God calling you to do this? If you're asking yourself that question, check it out. Ask the parish priest, ask a vocations director. And see, it might be, it might not. But the fact is that you've checked it out. It's a challenge now, especially in our culture, which has a very irreligious background. So I came from a background where, like I said, I didn't know I didn't know the major Catholic prayers, but I did know the Rosary. I did know how to recite a chapter and verse in the Bible. I did know the Lord's Prayer. And you might have experienced this as well. Kids coming up in school today don't even have that as part of their background. So that's going to be the extra challenge, is to introduce everyone at an early age, just the very basics. And I really mean the very basics. And then from there, build it up.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a concern about what's going on in Catholic schools, because I spoke to somebody yesterday who said that he has friends who spent 14 years in Catholic education from primary through secondary, and they're asking the most basic questions about the faith. Their theological knowledge is so poor.
Yes.
And this is by no means all schools. It's just, this is the picture that's coming across. And he said, if it was maths, your parents would ring up and sue the school and say, what's going on? My kid's been 14 years in school and they can't do 5 times 5. But we don't seem to have the same, there doesn't seem to be the same concern when it comes to leaving Catholic schools, Catholic education, with a really poor knowledge of the faith and a real lack. Why is that? And I mean, you talked about the body and blood of Christ, and that beautiful miracle, and how it touches you and it touches me as well. And it's like so humbling and that we can receive, by God's grace, we can receive his body and blood. But the Pew Form study, which Bishop Barron talks about, says that 70% of Catholics don't even believe that it's really Jesus' body and blood. So we've got a lack of faith as the supernatural, a lack of faith in Jesus, body and blood, soul and divinity in the Eucharist, and a poor formation in Catholic schools. There's a lot to work on. What does one do?
There is. And
one doesn't want to be totally cynical and negative, but what do you think?
Well, I think as a reminder of the challenges we face, and it's a multi-level challenge, which I think is another program you're going to, I'm not too sure I want to say this, but you should drag me in for another interview and I'll talk to you all about that. But to keep it as brief as I can, I think there are various levels to deal with this. And I spoke to this about to parents who brought in their children to be baptized, especially if they're first-time parents. And I tell them, part of the process of baptizing a child, yes, we're freeing the child from original sin, But a lot, well, not a lot more important, but definitely important as well, is you are taking the responsibility of raising the child in the Catholic faith. And it says it right in the baptism ceremony. Do you wish to instruct, do you intend to raise the child or instruct the child in the Catholic faith? And what's happened over the years, I think, my personal opinion, is parents, no fault of their own really, but parents really delegated that authority to priests, to schools, Catholic schools. So they say, okay, we'll send our kid to a Catholic school and they'll get the basic instructions there. If they don't get it, father will step in and let father deal with it. That was never really the intent. The schools and the priests and the clergy, essentially, not just priests, but the clergy in general, are there to help parents in their journey. And I say that quite openly. And because a lot of the problems you're seeing from parents now is they don't have the confidence. Yeah. Because we're in a generation now where parents grew up in a culture where they were instructed or they were poorly catechized, quite frankly, and just grew up with the idea that Jesus loved them. Well, yes, he does, but
yeah, that's good.
That is good, but there is so much deeper meaning to faith that comes to this. And one of the big things in Catholic schools are just in general, I'm sure there's quite a few schools that are very good at teaching the faith, but really started dumbing down the faith. And you can probably answer this better than I can, but in some aspects, like you say, we're talking about high-level mathematics in secondary schools, algebra, trigonometry, and then they're giving comic books for RE lessons.
Yeah.
That is, where we have Augustine, Aquinas, so many other, Newman, so many other fathers of the church that we can give them. But we don't, because we're afraid, the kids won't understand that. No, kids are very intelligent. You know that as well as I do. They can handle it. It's just our reluctance, and perhaps maybe even our lack of confidence. Because I remember there was one aspect, and fair enough. And teaching is a difficult job. It really is. Yeah. I was in a school not that long ago. It was an RE class, and the teacher was talking, and she was struggling about some elements of the faith. I'm not exactly sure what it was, and she was longingly looking at me, the Catholic seminarian, to help me, Ellen. And I'm just saying, yeah, okay, you sit down, I'll take over. And I did that exactly, and I said, as an aside, I said to myself, wow, teaching is fun, teaching is great, this is fantastic. Why did I ever leave? And then I looked at the table, what the teacher was doing, going through documentation and marking, and I said to myself, yeah, now it's coming back to me.
Exactly.
So teachers do have it hard. And even now in this culture of political correctness and gender identity, it's become even harder. I honestly don't think I'd be able to survive in a classroom at this point, because I'm just too, how should I say it, politically incorrect. But it's just,
we love you, Father Allan.
Yes.
Well, you know what, talking of that, we do need priests to come into schools as well. Yes. I know priests are busy, but it would be great as if priests can get into schools, move around, get to know the students. I think this would be brilliant for young people. And I know many do, but there are some schools that are completely lacking. They're lacking a chaplain, a lay chaplain, a priest. So that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we have to be careful of, and we mentioned this a lot in seminary, or our formators mentioned this a lot in seminary, is what they called the seminary bubble. You are sort of isolated, especially in a place like Warnish, which is literally in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, you are within that enclosed community, and you don't really see or appreciate what's going on in the outside world. Parishes are very much the same way. They can be very much within that bubble as well. Just when I experienced my life here in this parish, priests and deacons and any member of the Catholic staff are attending and working on the needs of parishioners, which is proper and the right thing to do, they don't have the time, or in some cases they're just too tired to actually go out in the community. I did a lot of time when I was here, and I still do it. I just go shopping and I'm just wearing clericals, and so many people come up to me. Most people just ignore me. Some give me dirty looks, but most, but quite a few, will come up to me and say, "Oh, are you a priest? Where are you from?" And then we just start an average conversation from there. And some will ask for a blessing. Many won't. Most won't. But it's that seeing the priest, or seeing any member of a clergy, as your normal everyday life. What was struck with one conversation we had a few years back, when I think it was your stepdaughter. I was having coffee with your stepdaughter when I was in Tooting.
That's in Tooting.
Yes, and you told me afterward that she was just, amazed and questioning about this person who is trying to become a priest. And I think
she was like, what? Hang on, he was really normal and nice and fun and interesting. And I was like, yeah, that's right. He's a normal human person. So I think it's true. Get out, mix with people, make them see that you're accessible and engaging. And I think that's a huge part of it that will help people overcome their prejudices in some cases.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason why the abuse scandal hit as horribly as it did is because people have higher expectations or higher standards of priests, as well they should. There is that goal, that there is that expectation there. But at the same time, and this is really important, we have to acknowledge that they're human beings as well, and we're not placed on this pedestal that we're gonna fall down from. But it's very much, we have to be members of the community and the whole community. And that does mean going into schools. That does mean having conversations with people who don't go to church on a regular basis, or might not even be Christian. Just have a chat. And many times a lot of that idea of evangelization comes out from them. And that's not just for priests either. That's for parishioners. Parishioners need to somehow show out to be Catholic and to be Christian, and not to be embarrassed. Part of this is embarrassment, I think. The embarrassment of your faith. I don't really want to advertise that I'm a priest. I don't really want to advertise that I'm a Catholic, because people might be mean to me, or people might insult me, or people might give me dirty looks. Now, I think you and I are both in the same mindset. We really don't care, but but most people would care. And I think it's Christ gives us that instruction: do not be afraid. And we really need to take that to heart.
Yeah, I think you're quite right. There's also a danger, and I sense this, of being in a bit of an echo chamber. You surround yourself with like-minded folk, you talk to other Catholics, you're all on fire for Christ, and then you even this channel I'm doing, I mean, I love the conversations that I'm having, but I always pray before I begin any conversation, Lord, I pray, guide us in our speech, and may it land on ears that need to hear it, because you want to go out into the deep, and you have to go into those uncomfortable places. We had people over recently, and we had a conversation, and it was uncomfortable because we disagreed about many things. We had a couple of atheist friends, but we were able to speak with love and charity, and, as you say, not pretend or hide or think, oh, I better cover up the fact that I'm a Catholic and separate it out like it's not the part of me on show this evening. Because if you're a Christian, if you're a Catholic, it's always there. It's in everything you do. It should be. Christ should be in everything we do. Yeah.
Yes. It's one of the things I've mentioned in quite a few homilies now is, are you an active Christian just on Sundays? Because God's calling you to be a Christian every other day of the week too. And we need to emphasize that. Just don't carry on doing what you're doing normally and then just go to church and somehow you've ticked the box to say you're a good Catholic or you're a good Christian. It doesn't work that way. The Lord demands all. Sorry, I just lost track there for something in a minute.
I'm sorry.
No, I've forgotten. Sorry, but the idea is, yes, we do have to break. Yeah, sorry, sorry, I remember now.
It's fine. Go on.
You were mentioning the problem about echo chambers. Online is a classic example of that. One of my big weaknesses, or was, I think I've overcome that now, is I used to get into just these horrible arguments with people online. And you know as well as I do, online is basically the lion's den. It's a sewer in a lot of ways. Now, I'm not saying that online is evil. It's a tool, and how that tool is used is the big thing. And but Robert Barron, Bishop Robert Barron, made the point that I'm going to reemphasize here. We have forgotten how to disagree civilly, or how to have a good argument. So let's say you're a conservative supporter, I'm a Labor supporter. We can have an argument or disagreement, discuss points on that, and at the end of the day, we can go in and have a pint or a coffee and still be good friends. We've really lost that in Britain, and we desperately need to get that back, because that's the only way we're going to be able to advance.
Yeah, I agree. So we go out in love, in charity, but not compromising on truth. And that's what we're called to do. That's what we have to do. Well, Father Allan, I'll leave it there for now. But as you say, I've really loved speaking with you. I'm sorry we've had a few technical problems, and my audio and video isn't too great today, but it doesn't matter as long as we've got something to put out. But come back and chat with me another time.
It would be my pleasure, Catherine. I absolutely loved our chat.
Yeah, good. Okay, well, God bless, and I'll see you soon.
God bless you, Catherine. Bye-bye.